First, I want to, Raheem, I want to get a pulse check. Get it? National pulse. Get a little bit of a pulse check here. We are in a brave new world. This is very Huxleyan as much as it is Orwellian, where we really don't know where we're going. The navigational tools of prior politics don't necessarily apply. Is Donald Trump stronger post-conviction?
I think that's a question that we are kind of waiting to figure out as the numbers continue to flood in. And I'm not talking about the cash numbers here. Over the weekend, of course, a lot of people are very excited about how much money is going into the campaign. I would be more excited about what I see coming out. And that output is, it's a lot of different things. It's local ground game. It's changes, if there are going to be any, right, to how people cast their votes and how those votes are counted. And it comes down to, again, big set piece moments like the debates, as an example. I would say, look, I'll just be totally honest with you. Donald Trump, even as Donald Trump, is still a human being, and I'm sure this stuff is weighing on him. That presser that he gave last week, you could see, and it's no fault of his, that you can see it weighing on him. You can see it taking a toll. But at the same time, I think it breeds a kind of resolve, right? It breeds a resolve at a local level. It breeds a resolve in the man himself. If channeled correctly, this puts him in a far better position. But at the same time, Charlie, this isn't the first time I'll ever say this. It won't be the last time I ever say it. If the people around him and if the RNC are not sharing in that resolve, they are not putting their shoulder to the wheel to get that man elected, then he will not be elected. And there are so many details that go in behind that. There are so many small little boxes that you have to tick along the way. You cannot simply rely on donor cash and polling performance. This is what real campaigns come down to: nitty gritty and detail.
Now, I'm going to follow up with that in a second, but I want to get Mike's thought. Mike, stronger or neutral? Does he get stronger the more that is thrown at him?
I think President Trump is going to get much stronger because of this unprecedented Biden Democrat lawfare and election interference. We've been talking about this for the last nearly 2 years, Charlie, since the unnecessary, unlawful, unprecedented raid on the office of former president for presidential records he's allowed to have under the Presidential Records Act. And you see this Biden lawfare against President Trump in many different jurisdictions across the country. And frankly, this New York case was their weakest case, and the American people tuned in and they didn't like what they see. They saw a rigged, corrupt, partisan process as an illegitimate process in New York. And I've seen it. I always knew that this lawfare would backfire and backfire spectacularly. I was stunned after with the reaction I saw after this bogus guilty verdict of President Trump. I was getting phone calls, DMs, text messages from people who don't like Trump, people who are sick of Trump, who are all in now. And I think it's going to unify all factions of the Republican Party. It's going to bring in independents. It's even going to bring in some right-thinking Democrats. I think the American people understand that they, not these Biden Democrats, prosecutors and judges and witnesses and operatives in these Democrat hellholes of New York, D.C., and Atlanta, the American people get to decide who is our president.
So Raheem, I want to throw back to you because you were kind of alluding to something. You said that the election will be won in the nitty gritty. We're doing our work at Turning Point PAC and at Turning Point Action. We're doing Get Out the Vote, Chase the Vote. We got more events than we know what to do with. We're hosting President Trump on Thursday, People's Convention. Raheem, are you seeing the infrastructure that is necessary globally? Or do you think that there needs to be more emphasis, more funding? Just kind of give us a status report of what you're seeing.
Yeah, no, frankly, the changes at a local level have not been made. Frankly, the operations at local level. Look, I'm getting calls multiple times a day, I'm sure you are too, to say that the local level organizations are simply not where they need to be. The people who are being promised a lot of election integrity people on the ground, analysts, people to go through the rules, people to challenge the rules, legal fights, all of that have not occurred, have not amounted to anything. And a lot of these people are officials at local levels. They point fingers at the RNC, the previous RNC and the current RNC. By the way, we have to be real about that. Not enough changes have been made in the short amount of time that they've had, and I do accept that it's been a short amount of time, but we also have an extremely short amount of time until the election. And by the way, when I say all of these things, goodness me, I'm happy to be proved wrong. I mean, that would fill me with glee. But at this point in time, like I say, the box ticking at a hyper-local level, I'm getting the feeling that we're not quite there yet. Now, some of that can be dealt with, using money, using resources, but you also have to have the right people. You also have to have the types of people who are willing to run headfirst on into these problems. We saw this issue come up several weeks ago when it was announced that Charlie Spees was being pushed into the RNC as chief legal counsel. And of course, many people objected to that, Charlie Spees being a friend of Mark Elias, being a never-Trumper himself. And President Trump even objected to it twice, in fact. So you have to have somebody in that kind of position who isn't going to try to come to an accommodation with the left, try to come to an accommodation with the government in terms of what the election result will be and what the challenges at state levels are going to be. You also have to have kind of a much more targeted approach to dealing with this than just saying, and this is, by the way, no slight on what Mike was saying, because I think he's absolutely correct. I sat in Manhattan bars all weekend, pubs and bars all weekend. I got to tell you, some of the most left-wing people are talking to me and saying, I'm absolutely voting Trump because this is a disgrace and it's disgusting and whatever. You have to carry that through between now and November 5th. And that is a big lift. It's a heavy lift. And it's a lift that not just involves keeping that defiant spirit up, but it also includes making sure those people get to the ballot box and cast their votes for Donald Trump on that day. And by the way, Charlie, also cast their votes for Republicans down the ticket, because we both know that if there is a Democrat House, if there is an ability for Democrats to go into the chamber and say, we are not certifying these votes for Donald Trump because, he's a convict and an insurrectionist and whatever, they will take every opportunity possible.
I think that's smart. 1 minute here. Mike Davis, do you have something to add to that from Raheem? 1 minute.
I 100% agree with both what you, Charlie, and what Raheem are saying. We have to be able to take this anger, this building support for President Trump. We have to translate that into voter registration and voter turnout. The Democrats are so much better than we are as Republicans, as conservatives, as right-thinking Democrats and independents. They are so much better on the left at turning out their votes, and we need to get a lot better on the right at doing that. And so I commend what you guys are saying and what you guys are doing.
Thank you, guys. Stay right there. We are here throughout the entire hour. Article 3 Project, National Pulse, two great organizations to support. Stay right there. I want to tell you about Rough Greens. If you have a dog, you got to listen carefully. It is the National Pulse, by the way. I need to make sure I'm clear. The National Pulse. Roughgreens.com. It is a wonderful additive to your dog's food. Did you know 80% of adults take supplements? Well, to feel our best, right? One thing your dog can't do without you is improve their diet or health to feel their best. That's why I believe Rough Greens could dramatically help your dog and your best friend add what is missing to their diet. Mr. Briggs loves it. Naturopathic Dr. Dennis Black, who created Rough Greens, is also an airborne ranger and Green Beret. An amazing background. He loves dogs and he's on a mission to help as many as he possibly can. Dog food is dead food. Rough Greens supplements your dog's food with essential vitamins and minerals, omega oils, digestive enzymes, probiotics, and antioxidants. Dr. Black is offering a free Jumpstart trial bag to get back their energy, improve elimination, and get rid of itching, scratching, achy joints, and bad breath. Fetch your free Jumpstart trial bag. Just cover shipping. Don't change your dog's food. Just add Rough Greens. That is ruffgreens.com/Kirk. roughgreens.com/KIRK. Rough Greens supplements your dog's food with essential vitamins and minerals, omega oils, digestive enzymes, probiotics, and antioxidants. So check it out right now. Dr. Black is offering you a free Jumpstart trial bag. That is free Jumpstart trial bag today. ruffgreens.com/KIRK. That is roughgreens.com/Kirk. Fetch your free Jumpstart trial bag today. That is roughgreens.com/Kirk. Email us as always, freedom@charliekirk.com, and subscribe to our podcast. For those of you watching on Rumble, make sure you guys subscribe on our Rumble channel and get your tickets to the Turning Point Action Town Hall with President Trump this Thursday. We'll be right back. And we have a word for that. It's called being a racist and a bigot. I hate to cut to that too fast, but if there was ever a time to use that term, it's that. And let me tell you the tragedy that you're going to have to navigate. Let's pretend your dream school is Stanford. Okay, let's just pretend. It's got problems, but it's got some good departments. Okay, and you go to Stanford. Do you know the problem is? People are going to think you got there just because of your skin color. It creates more racism. They're not going to assume that you had good grades, that you could have gotten in on your own merits, which, based on how articulate you ask the question, you probably could. And then all of a sudden you're going to have this hanging over your head of people that might say, is she there because of affirmative action? Is she there because of these policies? We want merit. We want a society based on how hard somebody works, how hard they apply themselves, the content of their character, not just what they look like. And so I'm glad to see the Supreme Court that came in and say that parts of affirmative action are unconstitutional, and I think we need more of it. And I think that you're a great example of that, because you want to be judged by your work, not just the underrepresentation of your people. God bless you. Miracle. Thank you. Is that Erica again?
It is Erica again. Hi, Charlie. So since meeting you
we made friends earlier. She was homeless a year ago, and now she's thriving. How great is that? Isn't that?
Since meeting you a few short hours ago, I've already had numerous people remove me on Instagram and tell me they can no longer be my friends because I'm here at a free event learning both sides of the spectrum. Anyway, oh, and I also forgot to tell you my pronouns. I identify as non-Biden-ary, Joe Biden. Live and let live. Everybody can live however they want. They can do whatever they want. And my question for you is, do you have any hate? And is Turning Point USA against the LGBT community? Because I'm being told that by coming here and listening to you speak that I'm either a racist or a fascist or against the LGBT. And isn't fascism when someone doesn't agree with your beliefs and your views and they want it either your way or the highway?
Yeah, the people that defriended you on Instagram, they're the fascists.
That's what I thought.
But yes, I do hate, and I'll tell you who.
Okay.
The Bible tells me in Psalm 97:10, if you love God, you must hate evil. And I'll tell you what do I mean by evil. I hate people that call themselves doctors that butchered Chloe Cole. That's who I hate. I hate people that call themselves doctors and perform the 1 million abortions we see every single year in the abortion industry. I hate people that sex traffic women into this country under the guise of immigration on the border. So I do not have hate for a group. I do not have hate for a people. I have hate for actions and individuals, especially that are in professions that institutionalize evil. Yes.
So just so I can get it on my camera. So Instagram,
don't worry, we got plenty of cameras, but yeah.
But yes, so you do not hate the LGBT community,
Well, no,
and Turning Point is not against LGBT.
No, how could I hate that which I have a heart for?
Thank you.
And I might not agree at that for some of the lifestyle choices that some people make, but of course not. And if someone said, Charlie, what's your view on marriage? I say, I believe marriage is between one man and one woman. But if you ask me, what do I have hate in my heart for somebody that doesn't choose the lifestyle that I believe that God laid out in the scriptures? Of course not.
Yes, I was told that Turning Point USA is against LGBTQ.
Well, you could be told a lot of different things.
I know, it's all bullshit.
I rest my case. Thank you so much.
God bless you, Charlie.
Hi, Charlie. My name's Noah. I just want to say everything you said, Ben Shapiro, Matt Walsh, 100% agree. I was just wondering what you would do about the economics problem in this country. So, we deficit spend every year. The government is in a continuous cycle where we deficit spend more and more every single year. What would you say that we should probably do about this issue that's kind of continuing?
Okay, everybody, welcome back. We have Raheem Kassam and Mike Davis that continues with us. So there's a lot of threats on the horizon here when it comes to the presidential election. Mike, I want to get your reaction here from the Article 3 Project. What is your take on the lack of legal rejection, if you will, that even people that say that they love the law and they honor the law, they seem to be okay with Donald Trump receiving a Moscow show trial? And there's some exceptions, the CNN legal editor. How do we make sense of that, Mike Davis?
I think we make sense of that because what we've been talking about for 2 years, Charlie, is that today's Democrats are not our parents' or grandparents' Democrat Party. These aren't liberals who love America and just disagree with conservatives on the best way to get there. These are leftists. These are Marxists. They hate free speech. They believe in censorship. They hate equality. They believe in equity. They hate due process. They believe in politicized and weaponized justice systems. And that's really started under Me Too. And it's just escalated with these Biden trials of President Trump in multiple jurisdictions in New York, D.C., in Atlanta, civil, criminal. In Colorado, they tried to take him off the ballot. In Maine, they tried to take him off the ballot. In Arizona, the Arizona Attorney General, who stole that election from Abe, yes, she stole it. She brought a bogus indictment against Trump's supporters and aides and named him as an unindicted co-conspirator for January 6th, based upon another bogus Biden Democrat-driven legal theory. And she could easily add him as an indicted conspirator, co-conspirator at any point. So these are Republic-ending tactics by President Biden, his attorneys like Jonathan Su, he worked with Gary Stern at the National Archives, the General Counsel, along with Jay Brad at the Justice Department, to orchestrate the Mar-a-Lago raid, the political hits. I mean, Biden's fingerprints are on all four of these unprecedented indictments, with Jonathan Su, his fingerprints on the Mar-a-Lago raid, which led to two of Jack Smith's indictments, one for January 6th for the non-crime of objecting to a presidential election, which is allowed by the Electoral Count Act of 1887 and the First Amendment. Biden's fingerprints are also on Jack Smith's January 6th case through Jonathan Su or the Mar-a-Lago case for having presidential records in the office of former president, which is allowed by the Presidential Records Act. Notice how the Biden Justice Department is prosecuting Trump for having presidential records, but not prosecuting Biden for having stolen classified records. And then you have Matthew Colangelo going to Bragg's office from the number 3 office in the Biden Justice Department to bring this bogus trial in New York. You have Nathan Wade, Fani Willis's big, dumb, unqualified boyfriend, billing 16 hours of his time, $250 an hour, to meet with the Biden White House, including the White House counsel. This is Biden-driven lawfare and election interference, and the Republicans need to understand that and fight back against this.
So about 2 minutes, Raheem, we'll pick this up after the break. Is it time to indict the left, Raheem Kassam?
Yes. And I think the public is indicting the left right now, and that needs to be carried through to an actual legal process. We used to worry about relativism. Now we've got pure demonic forces out there being celebrated. We used to worry about socialism. Now we have full-on communism in the Western world. We used to worry about integration of people from other countries. Now you have overt anti-white racism having been normalized. They have totally and completely decided to pursue a strategy, to pursue a philosophy of what can only be described as third worldism, okay? It's third worldism. They want to turn this country into a third world nation. It is not by accident. They're not morons. They're not stupid. They know exactly what they're doing. They want to create this base. It's why they're giving millions upon millions of emergency authorizations for work to millions of illegals, even some of them becoming police officers, by the way, in California and Illinois. This is, once upon a time you were pilloried for saying the word replacement. Well, they are replacing everything. They are supplanting everything about Western civil society. And that is a reality to which a lot of people woke up this past week.
It is time to indict them because that is all they understand is mutually assured destruction. Stay right there, guys. Raheem Kassam from the National Pulse and Mike Davis, Article 3 Project. Stay right there. Email us freedom@charliekirk.com and subscribe to our podcast. Open up your podcast application and type in Charlie Kirk Show. We have President Donald Trump coming for a town hall, a special guest this Thursday in Arizona, special guest. And then we have the People's Convention coming up the week after that with President Trump and Vivek Ramaswamy, Steve Bannon in Detroit, Michigan, tpaction.com/peoples. So email us as always, freedom@charliekirk.com, and subscribe to our podcast. We'll be right back. Single year. It's called inflation. And do not believe the spin on the media. There is only one reason why we have inflation, and that is the overspending of the federal government. And we made a decision. Both parties made a decision. I want to be factually correct on this, where at COVID, we decided to lock down our country unnecessarily. The lockdowns will go down as one of the worst mistakes in American history that we'll have to pay off for the next 100 years. Secondly, we decided to go spend $7 to $8 trillion that we do not have. We have added anywhere between $7 to $8 trillion to our national debt in the last 4 years. It is 4 years ago, almost to the day, when Mike Pence took the podium and he said 15 days to slow the spread. We have added $7 to $8 trillion to the national debt. That's on top of the huge spending on top of it. So what is inflation? It's very simple. Inflation is when you have more of a currency and fewer goods and services, and when the currency or the dollar or the money is outpacing or is more than the goods and services, when that balance goes out of whack, when you have more dollars than people know what to do with it. That's why you see the stock market creeping up to 40,000 points, even though it's not correlated to economic growth. It's not correlated to robust consumer confidence. It's not correlated to wage growth. It's just we have so many dollar bills, they have to go somewhere. And so how do we fix it? Well, neither political party in D.C. is serious about fixing it, unfortunately. And the way we need to fix it is we need to dramatically cut federal spending. Dramatically cut federal spending. We need to come together, both political parties, and balance our budget because we are stealing money from future generations. And the normal things that are in front of you, that would have been in front of your parents' generation, are coming more and more out of reach for all of you. So cut federal spending, and then we need to audit the Federal Reserve because the Federal Reserve is a criminal enterprise.
Yeah, I was wondering. What do you think we should spend less on, though? Like more? Like
everything. Everything. The only thing I wouldn't touch are current obligations of Medicare and Social Security, but we need to cut the bureaucracy. We need to cut our military budget. We need to cut our defense budget. We need to cut our social services. We need to go across the board. And it's not easy. You're going to have to make harsh cuts. But you know who makes harsh cuts? This is what really ticks me off. Many of your families, when you were growing up, made harsh cuts after the 2008 financial crisis. After the 2008 financial crisis, many of you didn't go on vacations for 4 or 5 years. Many of you had to downsize from the home that you were living in. Maybe you had to go move into an apartment and you had to rent. Maybe your mom had to carpool to work. Everybody in this room went through downsizing after the 2008 financial crisis. And D.C. refuses to downsize. 8 out of 10 of the wealthiest counties in America are around Washington, D.C. They get richer and you get poor. It's a moral injustice. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
I want to shout out Freedom 2.0, which is our official water sponsor, by the way. There you go. Before I forget to do that, we'll go about another 15 minutes if we can. Yes, sir.
Hi, Charlie. My name is Ori. I was wondering what your thoughts are about the current BDS movement on campuses and the rising anti-Semitism in the country.
I call it Jew hatred. I'm very much against BDS. BDS, for you, just so you know, is boycott, divestment, sanctions, which is a Jew hatred movement to try to blockade Israel by misrepresenting Israel as an apartheid state. So I'm pretty well documented. I'm one of the more non-Jewish pro-Israel voices in the conservative movement. I'm not an apologist. I call balls and strikes if Israel does something I don't like. But Jews have a right to a homeland, and half the world's Jewry lives in the nation of Israel. And the Bible is abundantly clear that we must bless Israel, period. And I stand by that. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Hi, hello, Charlie. It's nice to see you again. So my question is, sorry, I'm nervous. How is the best way to solve homelessness and crime in America? Because it has, when I'm come from Tijuana, and when I got here, I always hear about America being the greatest nation, being where no one is poor, you know. And then when I got here, I remember the first time I went to San Diego downtown, it was horrible. And then I went to LA.
I can just see the YouTube video. Mexican immigrant says America is horrible. You know, it's just like, let's just see it. No, I'm giving you a hard time. It's very simple. We know how to solve crime. You lock up criminals and you don't relax penalties. We know how to solve homelessness. I have a heart for the homeless. Many of them have mental issues that they're dealing with. A vast majority have substance abuse issues. Super simple. You have to have a prime directive. The streets are not your home, period. We're going to get you help. We're going to bring you to a shelter. We're going to help you recover. We're going to get you treatment. We're going to make sure you get attention. You're going to get fed. You're going to get clothed. You don't do it in the open air. It's not good for you. It's not good for society. It's not good for our hospital system. It's not good for anybody. For example, if you go to a local hospital between 1 and 5 a.m., I guarantee there'll be 2 to 3 homeless people every night that run into traffic. They get run over by a bus. They get run over by a car. And it is completely unnecessary in the sense that if they were in a shelter, that wouldn't be happening. And these poor people, a lot of them die. They run.
Charlie Kirk is a terrific person. He's mainstream, conservative, but solid as a rock.
Charlie Kirk Show.
Okay, I want to tell you about a new partner of ours here. Very important. And while I file through this, go to tpaction.com/townhall. President Donald Trump in Phoenix, Arizona, this Thursday. Phoenix, Arizona. I'm not exactly sure what this is, so we'll go to Herzog. Herzog Foundation is terrific. I spend lots of time talking about the perils Christian parents face sending their children and kids to government-run schools, which is why I'm excited to talk to you about real-life solutions, especially if you care about your Christian worldview and want education options that reinforce it. It's why I'm proud to partner with the great folks at the Herzog Foundation, the premier institution in America dedicated to advancing Christian education. You see, they offer a remarkable suite of free resources for parents and grandparents thinking about making the switch from public schools to a Christian education. The Herzog Foundation also offers a wide range of free training and services to Christian educators and Christian parents and grandparents too, who are seeking to learn more about their educational options. From homeschooling to school startups to Christian school growth, the folks at Herzog are here to help. To learn more about how your family, faith, and community can flourish through a quality Christian education, go to readlion.com. That is readlion.com. So check it out right now. Readlion.com. Portions of the Charlie Kirk Show are brought to you in part by the Stanley M. Herzog Foundation. Readlion.com. Raheem, I want to start with you. This is an amazing piece from the National Pulse, all about the the push for amnesty, essentially, from Joe Biden. Walk us through this piece.
Yeah, thanks, Charlie. You know, this is something we've been keeping our eye on for some time now, wondering what exactly is the Biden regime doing with all these people that are being brought illegally into the country. You know, we see the horror stories, we see the worst parts of, and we keep also a migrant crime roundup every week just to show people what's going on. But on the flip side, you know, what are the pull factors? This is a phrase that we often used to use in the run-up to the Brexit campaign. What are the pull factors, you know, besides America being the land of plenty? Well, you've got the corporate pull factors, which are a major part of it. And what's happening as a result of that is the government is being lobbied by massive U.S. corporations, Tyson Foods being the most heinous example of that, to say, hey, look, you've got all of this labor in this country. We've lobbied you to keep the borders open and keep these people coming in for decades now. They're finally getting what they want. Now, how do we actually put these people to work? They are effectively indentured servants to the corporate American class, because what the Biden government is doing is giving people emergency authorization for work permits. It's kind of known as a green card light to people who work kind of in the immigration industry. And what it does is it takes somebody who's either in the country completely illegally, or somebody who's awaiting an asylum claim or case or whatever, and it says to them, you know what, why don't you just go work in one of these factories for pittance an hour in one of frankly, one of these dangerous factories. We've heard so many horror stories, people, unqualified and getting their arms cut off and sucked into machines and things like that. An expendable slave class of people as far as corporate America is concerned. And we're now watching this take place. We had seen it take place by the tens of thousands for some months. We're now seeing it build into the hundreds of thousands, to the point where we're now entering the millions of people being authorized to work in the U.S. I will keep saying it. It is indentured servitude. It is modern day slavery.
Yeah, this is a huge story. Mike, I want to get your take on the lawless thread here. How are we able to continue to have this pseudo amnesty? Wouldn't the courts strike this down? What is the legal perspective here?
Yeah, that's a big problem, and the problem is the courts need to step up. Congress is in charge of writing our immigration laws, and the president has a duty under the Constitution to enforce them. And what we've seen under President Biden is he has abandoned his job as the chief executive, the chief law enforcement officer, and he's allowed over 10 million illegal immigrants to flood into our country, and many of them are unvetted and unvettable fighting-age men from some of the worst trouble spots around the world, including China. I mean, that's a huge problem that we're letting people come in from these places. And frankly, the House Republicans should step up and do more. They need to have more oversight. They need to have more accountability. They need to hold Mayorkas accountable. They tried to do that, and the problem is there are too many Republicans that are, as Raheem was saying, there are too many Republicans who are in that corporate camp, right? And they'll say good things, they'll pay lip service about illegal immigration, but behind the scenes, they want this to happen because it helps their corporate overlords.
So I want to throw it back to you here, Mike, and it's a change of topic here. I think it's very important, which I saw this story come out a couple weeks ago, or a week and a half ago, and I was like, that's bizarre, but it's all coordinated, which was the attack on Alito's Appeal to Heaven flag. And this is them trying to work the refs for the inevitable Supreme Court taking of the Trump case. Mike Davis, you begin, then Raheem can get your thoughts on this. Walk us through this entire saga. We haven't covered this yet.
Yeah, this is such a silly hoax, another hoax by the Democrats. I know Mrs. Alito, and I love Mrs. Alito, but she is a very strong-willed woman. And as you saw from Justice Alito's statement that he put out, which was kind of humorous to read, she wanted to fly flags at the House, and Justice Alito didn't like the flags, and Mrs. Alito won, right? And so she flew flags at the Appeal to Heaven that has been flown for centuries, going back to George Washington. It was the American Revolution flag. It was flown in San Francisco. City of San Francisco flew this flag until it all of a sudden became the symbol of January 6th 2 weeks ago somehow, right? And so it's just absolutely silly that the left is trying to say that because Mrs. Alito flew this flag that's flown in America for centuries, including in San Francisco, not exactly MAGA territory, that was somehow an insurrection flag on January 6th because some people on January 6th flew that flag and other flags. And so therefore, Justice Alito somehow has to recuse from the two January 6th cases before the Supreme Court right now. The Fisher case on obstruction of justice under a post-Enron statute, and then President Trump's presidential immunity. It is a laughably stupid legal argument. If Somehow Justice Alito needed to recuse. Why hasn't the Biden Justice Department filed a motion asking for him to recuse? And the reason is it is such a frivolous argument, and they know it. And there was also an upside-down American flag, a distress flag, that Mrs. Alito flew when one of her deranged left-wing neighbors harassed the hell out of her, called her the C word after she told them to take an F Trump sign down that these crazy neighbors had near a bus stop at their Virginia house. So the Appeal to Heaven flag flew at their New Jersey beach house that she owns, Mrs. Alito owns, and then their Virginia house that they both own. She got into a scuffle with the neighbor because this neighbor's a real partisan deranged jerk and had an F Trump sign in front of kids at a school bus.
So, Raheem, this is all coordinated. This was a coordinated PR hit, right? This Appeal to Heaven stuff, because they wanted to try to weaken the Supreme Court. It is the only branch of government that is like a check on sanity. We don't have the administrative state, we do not have the executive branch, and we do not have the congressional branch. The Supreme Court is the last bastion that says no. Raheem Kassam.
Yeah, and there's so much more to that story, as Mike was sort of getting to there as well. The harassment with which they have had to deal. By the way, if anybody should be offended by Appeal to Heaven, it's the British guy, right? And I'm not offended by it. So they were undergoing a harassment campaign at their home. The neighbors were putting up signs that were threatening. They were marching outside the house. They were shouting at them, so on and so forth. And so the response was, okay, we're going to fly the distress flag to show to people that, hey, even in our own neighborhood, we're being routinely abused like this. As you say, called the C word, but that's not all. The mother of the couple who was doing this to the Alitos, I think she was a PBS executive, came out and said, well, they were doing it with the best of intentions. Well, what is the best of intentions behind harassing your neighbor, let alone the neighbor being a Supreme Court justice and his wife? There is none. There's absolutely no justification for that. And what they're doing here is, yes, undermining the Supreme Court and its decision-making power in all of these cases, but it's also meant to threaten the lives of these people. You know, it's no surprise that they will come to some kind of plea deal with the guy who tries to go and assassinate Justice Kavanaugh, but of course the guy who breaks into the Pelosi's house gets 40 years in the book thrown at him, right? Those are completely divergent ways of dealing with similar cases there. And it's designed, again, to try and make Republicans, to try and make conservatives think twice about the career trajectories that they're going through. It's going to fail because I think a lot of people now, probably the Appeal to Heaven flag has never been so popular in this country, probably since the late 1770s. And so that should be quite right. Everybody should. I was just reading an article in the break that said that Republican members of Congress are now erecting those flags outside their offices.
Well, they should.
And
That's
so
right.
they should be. You cannot accept this. You cannot allow for it. Lean back in.
That's exactly right. Mike Davis, final thought on this topic, about a minute remaining here.
I would say this, these leftists have glass jaws. Break them legally and politically. Don't stop cowing to the left. Stop playing by their rules. Stop living in fear. But the only thing the left understands and appreciate is power. Show them power.
Very good. Guys, stay right there. One more segment with Mike Davis, Article 3 Project, Raheem Kassam, The National Pulse. Stay right there. My PhD weight loss. If you guys want to lose weight, listen carefully. I've lost over 30 pounds on this program. It's My PhD Weight Loss. I was just talking with them. They're great folks. Dr. Ashley Lucas has her PhD in chronic disease and sports nutrition. Her program is based on years of research and is based in science. Second, the PhD program starts with nutrition, but it's so much more. They know that 90% of permanent change comes from the mind, and they work on eliminating the reason you gained this weight in the first place. There are no shortcuts, no pills, no injections, just solid, science-based nutrition and behavior change. And finally, and probably most importantly, I lost 30 pounds. Haven't gained a pound back. That's because PhD weight loss and nutrition is amazing. If you are ready to lose weight for the final time, call 864-644-1900 to get started, or online at myphdweightloss.com. That is myphdweightloss.com. So check it out right now at myphdweightloss.com. So check it out, 864-644 1900. So do what I did and what hundreds of my listeners have done. So check it out right now, myphdweightloss.com. That is myphdweightloss.com. Email us as always, freedom@charliekirk.com, and subscribe to our podcast. You could subscribe to our podcast by taking out your phone and typing in Charlie Kirk Show. All of you guys have phones out there. If you are driving on one of the radio stations across the country that we're on, maybe KRLA in beautiful Los Angeles or AM 960, The Answer, The Patriot, take out your phone and type in Charlie Kirk Podcast and subscribe. Let's see how we're doing right now. We are number 9 in Apple News. That's right, number 9 in Apple News, and number 1, 2, 3, 4. We are the 4th largest conservative podcast according to Apple News right now. So thank you guys, and some of our episodes were some of the best consumed over the weekend in all of American podcasting. In fact, we were top 100 on the episode charts of every podcast episode out there, and there are hundreds of thousands. We'll be right back. All of a sudden, redirect a lot of things in the emergency room. Other people who need critical care might get triaged, and they might not get the same attention that's necessary. That's just one example of dozens. And so we need to do what we once did in this country, which is, we love you. We're not going to allow you on the streets. We're going to nicely and kindly pick you up, and we're going to bring you to a homeless shelter. And if you come back again, we're going to bring you back to the homeless shelter. And I, for one, do not want to raise my child in a country where I have to tell her what to do when she's playing in a playground if she encounters a hypodermic needle. That is literally, there are guidelines in Seattle and Portland public schools of what to do if you're a 7 or 8-year-old if you come across a hypodermic needle. And that is the excesses of allowing a fringe population to basically manipulate the standard of living of the rest of us. So have compassion for the homeless. The streets are not your home. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Charlie. Thank you.
Hi, Mr. Kirk. My name is Dan. I come from northern part of San Diego. I have a question alongside with a fun question. So question is, what's your message for our generations who are very anxious from issues ranging from elections or future elections to family issues? And then the fun question is, I was wondering if you're a Star Trek fan, is there a Mr. Spock on board?
Yeah, that's very funny. I actually am I'm more of a next generation guy than I am a Captain Kirk guy, believe it or not. I have a whole theory for that, but we can geek out on Gene Roddenberry a different time. So, to your first question, if you're anxious, look, do not wait for politicians to solve the problems for you. I will say this is Charlie Kirk speaking. We have Turning Point Action. This is not the official position of Turning Point USA, but I sure hope that Donald Trump wins in November, and I think all of you agree, okay? And if he wins, I think it will be a lifeline for the country, but don't act like your life is going to be amazingly better just because someone wins an election. You still need to get married. You need to go to church. You need to get your faith right. You need to maybe get your body right. You need to stop watching pornography. Maybe you need to get better friends. You need to not be around people that gossip all the time. And so I'm a massive believer, and I don't believe college. I see no evidence that college has an emphasis on this. In fact, I think college is the opposite. College really teaches you that you're just a symptom of the things around you. I'm a huge believer in agency. Your ability to wake up one day and say, I no longer want to be what I am. I could be a better version of myself. This is why I'm so inspired by people that go through AA, and I mean that. The most amazing people are former alcoholics, and they are constantly recovering, and they're so honest. And by the way, AA is a religious exercise, just so we're clear. It's literally Christianity put into a recovery program. And so I'll just repeat that, which is this generation is suffering. It's the most depressed, suicidal, alcohol-addicted, drug-addicted generation in history. And a politician's not going to save that. It's going to require a bottom-up revival spiritually and mentally, emotionally across the board. Final thing I'll say is this. You can't have revival without repentance, and you can't have repentance if you don't talk about sin. And we all fall short of the glory of God. And I'll... Okay, everybody, welcome back. We have Raheem Kassam and Mike Davis here, Article 3 Project and the National Pulse. I want to make sure you guys give your digits and coordinates here. Raheem first, then Mike. How can people support you, follow you guys, all that good stuff?
Yeah, thank you, Charlie. The nationalpulse.com is the URL. We are 100% people funded. No donors, no political cash, none of that, no adverts, none of that. We are reliant 100% on ordinary people to have our back so we can keep doing the news, keep bringing you the analysis. And that keeps us, as our strapline says, radically independent. It's at the Nat Pulse on X, and I am at Raheem Kassam just about everywhere.
Mike, how can people follow, support you? What are your coordinates?
Article3project.org, article number 3project.org. You can take action there, you can donate there, and you can find our social media there.
Very good. So, guys, in closing here, last topic I want to tackle with you, vice presidential selection. Where's your head at? Mike Davis first, then Raheem. Who would be, let's just say, from best to worst, rank a couple names that come off. Mike Davis first.
I think Charlie and Raheem would be the best, and I don't know. I think maybe Nikki Haley might be the worst. But I think President Trump needs to pick whoever he's comfortable with, whoever he likes, and who's conservative and is able to step up and lead if something happens to the president. That's really the biggest job as the vice president is are they able to lead on day one? There are so many good people out there. Sarah Huckabee Sanders in Arkansas, I really like. J.D. Vance. There are so many. I probably should stop there because I'm going to leave people out.
So, Raheem, before I get to your answer there, I do want your reaction to Nigel Farage saying that he's going to be the new leader of the Reform Party. I don't know what this means, so break this down for the American audience here.
It means Nigel Farage is back from his, #1 rated television show, nightly show in the United Kingdom, but he's back in frontline politics. It means he will run for a seat in Parliament. It means he will be the leader of the Reform Party, which is the successor to the Brexit Party. And it's kind of the Conservative Party, the soft left Conservative Party's worst nightmare, because it means that he is effectively now the leader of the opposition for anybody who actually considers themselves a populist, a nationalist, a conservative, and somebody who doesn't, or anybody who doesn't want an avowed, self-declared socialist in charge of the country. And it looks like Labour Party will win this election on July 4th. They will command the majority in Parliament. They will get Sir Keir Starmer, probably the most boring man in politics, as the next Prime Minister. But it really sets Nigel up to level up from being kind of a protest vote back in 2015 and 16 to being the leader of the most effective opposition party in British politics.
Does that mean one day he could be Prime Minister?
It absolutely does. It absolutely does.
So yeah, so then is that he's like basically planting the seeds. Am I understanding that correctly?
Yeah, that's right. It's taking that next step up. You know, people said to him for a long time, you know, you'll always be this kind of fringe figure pulling votes away from the Conservative Party, just expressing this Brexit discontent that people have out there. But traditionally, they've left you when times are hard and they'll flock back to the Conservative Party. That is no longer the case. And these are the dice that Nigel is rolling at this election to say to the public, no, look, you don't have any real conservative options left in the Conservative Party. The polling is certainly showing us that the public believes that. And so Nigel is taking a chance on the public as much as giving the public the opportunity to take a chance on him here.
That's major news. Guys, thank you so much for the full hour here. Really appreciate it. We are out of time. Thanks so much, Raheem and Mike. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Email us freedom@charliekirk.com.